record and go for it. Over to you.
Oh, okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Well, today I'm going to take you through a bit of a journey on how we can particularly target the field service industry sector and how Kynection really solves some really key challenges, particularly around job management, time sheeting, costings on the field, consuming materials from a van if you need to install or perform maintenance on a customer site. Obviously, Kynection does a lot more other industries such as construction and manufacturing and transport and different workflows in each. But today I just want to focus on a bit more on the field service and really for companies that are doing those sort of install jobs, those maintenance jobs, and just trapping the data, what is getting consumed on the field. So let me get right into it right now. So I will just hide that little bar. So straight up, I'm from the Kynection dashboard here. I've also got a Samsung tablet, so I can show what the Kynection looks like on a mobile device. We are a very mobile-friendly company, as we want to make sure the interface on the mobile is intuitive and it really passes the grandpa test with big buttons and making it so much easier to capture data in the field, because we feel like that's one of the most important things of the organization. If you're going to get bad data from the field, you're going to get bad back-end financials and reporting. So we do put a lot of focus on trapping good data on the field, so your back-end financials and your reporting is immaculate. So now, because we're fully integrated to any ERP of your choice, either it's Sage Intacct, either it's MYB Acumatica, either it's Wise or Xero or Reckon, it doesn't really matter. But one of the things that we have to determine at the start of a Kynection build is really finding that source of truth and where data is created, where is data manipulated, and really mapping out those multi-directional APIs so the data is streamed through both systems. It's mimicked, and some of the great things what that solves is it solves a lot of double data entry, triple data entry. A lot of our core values to uplift everything from a paper protest to a digital format, and that's what we do quite well. And then obviously the main concern is to eliminate as many single silo systems that are out there. Like I have that same problem with multiple streaming networks. I've got my Binge, I've got my Netflix, I've got my Amazon. I wish everything was just in one SaaS product, and that's almost the philosophy of Kynection that we provide. So from here, I want to start off a bit of a day in a life of when a job order comes in. Now that can come in from a website booking form, that might be just a phone call that comes in, that might be created in the accounting package and we pull that into Kynection, but you also can actually get that coming in from Kynection as well. So for example, if a job comes in, essentially you'll be creating that quote, and I'll just create a quote directly from scratch. Essentially I can name the quote test drive job, and I can put a description in there if needed. I'm just going to say this is an installation job. I can put the type of job, if it's a schedule of rates or just a standard job. I can pull in the customer as well as the contact to the customer. If it's linked to a particular project, I'm able to link it to a project as well. I can select multiple different payment plans. I can make as many as I like, and I start tick. And this does us our basic of creating a quote. And from here, I can start with my section name, which could be a project task name. It could be a milestone name. And I'm just going to put installation. And then here, I'm going to start adding in my products or my stock or non-stock items from the catalog that I've pulled from the accounting package, or if it resides in Kynection, we can have that in there as well. So I'm going to say there's going to be a bit of service involved, and let's just say I'm going to do a bit of power washing, labor servicing. That's giving me the unit cost and the price. I'll add that in there. I'm also can add some materials. So I'm just going to add one of these saws in there just for just for this particular example. And from here, I can see my little costs, my little price, my profit margin on each subtype of the particular quote. And once that's all confirmed there, I can actually view a breakdown of the quote here, and I'll submit it. I can get it internally approved, and then from there I can get my customer's confirmation, and from there I can create my job directly from here as well. Once the job is created, if it's linked to a project, it also can create a project if needed. I have a list of all my particular projects here, and if I click on a particular project, I can see all the information that's been associated to that project. So certain jobs that have been linked to the project, all the staff hours that have been allocated to the process, because we're tracking all the timesheets here. I'm also keeping track of any materials that I've linked against that particular job and project, the assets and asset utilization. I can get a full profit and loss dashboard. I can check all my finances here, so I can see my quotes, my invoices, all my purchase orders, my purchase receipts, any packing slips. It's just a nice little container that has everything associated to the project. Blueprints that you've added, with nice little interactive forms that are filled out on a particular site. I've also got all the photos that were taken against the project. One awesome thing is done is like I can look at to a particular project, and we've incorporated a bit of Google Gemini where I can analyze that particular photo based on a safety perspective. And as you can see here, after carefully examining the photo, it seems there is a bit of clutter, as there's the desk service that has pillows and a speaker and a toy, and it is causing some sort of hazard. So you can kind of do that in any photo of Kynection if you're taking a pre-start on an asset that's been damaged or a particular form that's missing certain fields. There's a lot of cool stuff that we've started to push into Kynection as well. Once that project's been created and that quote's been signed off, now it's time to allocate the resources to that particular job or project. So within our scheduler, we have a ability to create multiple different schedulers that talk to each other. For me, it's one of the most open canvas, most customized modules that we have, and we can essentially build and tailor your resource allocation to how you like it. A lot of people that I've seen, it's, they're doing that on a whiteboard, or they're essentially doing that on multiple spreadsheets. They're trying to use a Google Calendar or a Microsoft Calendar, and it's just all falling apart. So one of the great things is we've listened to our customers, particularly in the field service management side of things, and incorporated a nice drag and drop interface that can be completely configured how you like it. So at the moment, I have all my projects listed on the left. I've got all my employees here. Sometimes I've got a crew or a combo of team of people that I can actually build together with people and assets. And then on the right here, I've got all my pieces of plant, and I can filter them per different categories. If I just want to see trailers, if I just want to see trucks, if I just want to see everything, I've got it here. And can be completely configured of what colors you want to. So I can have subcontractors different colors, I can have different assets different colors, I can have different job types different colors. There's a lot of different settings we can play within the scheduler. If I don't like to schedule to projects, I might want to schedule to particular people. And then this is where I've got more people on the left, and I've got my jobs on the right. And now I can actually schedule jobs and equipment to particular people if needed. Okay, so very, very different view of it as well. So now today is the 28th, and I'm going to schedule myself, which will be Kai Admin, to this particular project. I'm going to add myself a Toyota van to work on it, and then it's in a draft format, and obviously I can stretch this over a couple of days if I know it's a 2-day job, and I'll just click confirm. And as you can see, that now becomes a nice solid color. And that is telling me as the operations manager that job has been issued to that particular individual, Kai Admin. The job number is came up here. And then I will receive that even through an email, or I can send it as an in-app notification, through an SMS message, or even now through a WhatsApp message, which is quite handy. Now, as I go on the mobile device, and I'll just do a quick refresh here, I can go to my jobs, and I can go to my jobs, and I can see what jobs I've been allocated to under the Today tab. I can see which jobs are in progress, which jobs are overview. Now, we can do stuff like a force workflow where before I even see my jobs, I can force field technicians or employees to do certain other forms before prior to that. For example, I can force the employee to do a pre-start on the asset before he sees his jobs. I can force the employee to do a fit for duty form before he actually commences his jobs. And then once he's done all these jobs completed, I can then force him to do his timesheet at the end of the day. So a little bit of a carrot on a stick methodology that we've incorporated to make sure that employees are compliant and accountable for the work they do. We also can put geofencing around project sites that allows us to actually see what time they entered, what time they exited. We can hook up to telematics and the GPS on those vehicles as well to get that indication of travel time and how long they stay on the job site and so on, which is great. Now, if I click on today, I can see that there's been one job allocated here. Additionally, the address would populate through as well, allowing me to give me directions to the actual job because it is all completely linked with Google Maps. But as you can see, I can see other details on the particular job, like the project name, the milestone, which could be the project task, the equipment that I've been assigned to, and the type of job it is. If it's a servicing job or an install job, or whatever kind of job, we can actually create them in Kynection. Now, I'll click on Start Job. And as you can see here, we've got two forms to complete. There's an optional form where if an incident does raise, I could actually complete that optional form. Hang on one sec, because that just timed out. So let me load that up again. I'll bring us back. Gotta love live demonstrations. There you go. All right, we're back on site here. Now, and then I've got my mandatory form, which is my work order completion form. So within here, it's forcing me to do a form before I can close out the job. If I try to close out this job and try to submit it, as you can see, there's mandatory fields in there that I need to fill out before I can close off the job. Now, mind you, as I start filling out this form, everything is happening in real time. So someone in the office can actually see the field technician fill out the form in real time. As well, they can completely fill out any form of Kynection completely offline. So that is another nice little feature that we have, offline capability. So if you are working in a choppy area or you're working underground, you still be able to complete forms such as pre-starts, toolbox meetings, timesheets, whatever you need on that side too. Now, for this particular job, I might need to consume an item out of my vehicle. So I can select my vehicle as well and start consuming the item I need. So there's products here. I can check my products. Now, my vehicle, it's essentially its own little warehouse. So it has its little warehouse of stock that I've allocated resources to. So I'm just going to say there is going to be a water connector needed for this particular job, and I'm consuming one of those. Tick. And now I actually can add service as well. So if I wanted to consume some labor work, I can say that some labor work was also consumed, and I worked on this job for 2 hours. Tick. We also can put any questionnaire on the form as well. So if you need to get certain tasks or certain questions answered, that can be completely completed on here as well. Any photo can be taken on the form as well. So if I just take a photo of these little guys. One cool thing with Kynection is when I do click on the photo, you can see the timestamp and the geolocation of where I took the photo. And then I've got that nice ability to annotate anything I want on that photo if needed from a range of different colors. From here, I can add additional notes to the job or even use voice capture and say, yes, the water filters have been installed, tested, and secured, and off to the next job. So the voice capture does well, just streamlining that part instead of typing it out. And then you might need a sign-on blast on a customer sign-off if needed, and that can be done and accomplished within Kynection as well. Once I'm happy, I can submit my form, and as you can see, a notification will be sent to my supervisor that my job is completed. I can see that it turns blue, the job's been completed. If I need to email or download this form to a particular customer, quite simple. It comes out in a nice little sexy PDF of all the details that I particular service. If I click on my subforms, I can see the products that was utilized all through here as needed. Now, I've done my job. Now I can actually leave my site, and essentially what I can do after this is have the ability to actually do my timesheet directly after this, as well as finish my drive or even start my drive to my next job. So that can be all done as well. Now, I've got God mode. I'm the admin, so I can approve my own job. But essentially, I'll have a supervisor to approve that on the Kynection dashboard, which I'll show. But before I go to that, even from here, directly from the mobile device, I can create a purchase order or another quote if I needed to. So if I decide to create a purchase order, I can actually do that from the palm of my hand. So I can choose my supplier. I can, once I've got the supplier chosen, I can now start choosing my items and my products that I needed for that particular purchase order. So I can see here, I might need a snap-on strap, and I can say that, yeah, I need one of those. I'll add another product on here as well. So I'm just going to say that an exhaust wall vent will be needed, and I actually need 6 of those. And I can tick OK. And then once I've done my purchase order here, I will be able to submit that. And then I could receipt that purchase order once it's received by doing a partial receipt or a full receipt. I'm also able to put approval budgets. So if I have to create a purchase order that's over 5,000, it might go to a certain individual in the company or a certain role. And then if it goes over 50,000 purchase order, it might need to go to another senior representative as well. So that can be all done on the device, which is quite handy. Now, if I do go back to Kynection and I go back to my work orders, I can see all the jobs that have been open for today. I can see what jobs have been completed. And if I look at today, I can see that one job that's been completed by me. It hasn't been approved. So I'll have to look at this job. And from here, I'll be the guy that goes, all right, he did a work completion form. I can see that form that I've just completed on the desktop as well. I can see the items that were consumed, like a water connector and a labor. I can see the photos that were taken on that particular job. I can see that purchase order that was done as well as here, which is awesome. It all flows in quite quick. And any other details from the job is from here. So now I can approve that job. That job has been approved, and directly from Kynection, I can create that invoice. Now I can do full bulk invoices, so I can see here what hasn't been invoiced, what has been invoiced. So I can click on that job, I can click on a couple, and I click on this nice little button here, and I can create all my invoices for those jobs that I've done. And from here, it gives me that nice little life cycle of which invoices are in draft, which ones have been approved, which ones are open, which ones are sent to the customer, which ones have been sent to the accounting package. Once that accounting package has received that invoice and been paid, that would automatically flow back into Kynection. That invoice has been paid, and I'll be able to view that invoice within Kynection as well. And that is another nice little example of that, just API, multi-directional, both databases linked with the ERP, which handles quite nicely as well. What else? What can I show you as well? So we can have different job types, as I said, with maintenance jobs. Within here also, managing your assets is quite important. So all your equipment are listed in here. And then if we look at a particular asset, we can see all the details on the asset. So which jobs this particular Ford Ranger was assigned to. You've got it here, all the expenses that have been raised against the asset. So if you've raised, insurance and registration and toll fees. We essentially can get a P&L of every asset you have in Kynection, which is quite handy if needed. And there's the information that you can trap against the asset is out of control. So we can trap service history, we can trap warranty details, we can get completely link the asset to the accounting package, so you can track the depreciation of the asset, which is quite handy. We can put QR codes on it. We can put in NFC tags. They're like one of these, about the size of a 20-cent piece, and you can put that on any asset, and you could just tap your phone on it, and that'll automatically bring up the records of that asset and initiate a checklist if needed, which is quite handy. We put all different assets in different categories. We can have different regions. We can have a live map of showing where all your assets are at any point in time, which is not working right now. And then also any faults or any things that come out of your equipment. It's the same as another calendar of a drag and drop, where we drag the fault and allocate it to the internal mechanic that do the repair. And what you can also do with Kynection, which is quite handy, is do that full end-to-end process. So once the fault's been allocated to your mechanic or even to a third-party supplier, you'll be able to see the job, be able to see the repair, and start completing your repair form. Allocate your labor against that particular service job. If you've got parts, we can consume the parts in Kynection and have that updated in the accounting package that parts can consume for that particular job against the GL. So it's very, very, very handy to have that in there as well. It's a nice little integration. Once that job's been repaired and that's all been done, that's essentially that asset's back on the scheduler, ready to be scheduled again, which is quite cool. And then also, obviously, with all your maintenance of your weekly and your monthly maintenance, there all can be alerts into your mechanics or to your third parties to get your assets up in tip-top order, which is quite important, just to make sure all your assets are working quite well, or expire records are there, which faults have escalated after 5 or 6 days can be handed. We can do full NHVR reporting, particularly if you do have heavy vehicles, heavy trucks, and you need to buy the chain of responsibility side of things. We can actually make sure that when the audits do come every year, you're fully compliant and you meet all those requirements around the core side of things too. Full utilization of every asset, so we know how long that asset has been out of project, the dwell time, when you're ready to sell an asset, when you're ready to buy an asset. These are all really key metrics as a fleet management software that you can have just within Kynection as one of the modules, which is quite handy. Now, once that job has also been completed, we do have a full robust HR system that allows you to capture all the timesheets, the onboarding, the training licenses, and all the certifications of all your workers. So if I do look at a particular employee, Adam Palmer, I can see all the forms he's completed for the organization. I can see his training history. I can keep track of all his PPE. I can see every time he took leave. I can see all his timesheets. I can see all his inductions and all his licensing and all these competencies that he needs to complete, which is quite handy. And then I have a nice training log with a matrix format that has all my employees and all their licenses and when they're going to be expired. And they can completely have notifications saying, hey, you've got 2 weeks before your construction white card is about to expire. Please get that renewed. So it does all the nice legwork for you as well as for your subcontractors, making sure that the subbies have their public liability and their public indemnity insurances all up to date before I start scheduling them to jobs and to projects as well. So full subcontractor portal management is within Kynection. Now, once timesheets are completed, they will essentially pop up through here. I'll be able to see the actual timesheet job itself. I'll be able to see the job that he worked on, the time he started, the time he checked out in. If there's any allowances attached to that, I'll be able to see that. Any EBA awards, the award calculation aspect, that will be able to populate through in Kynection as well. I can make any adjustments. For example, I know he actually didn't finish at 2. He actually finished at 1:30 p.m. And any adjustment I make to someone's timesheet, a nice history is kept of the particular timesheet. And then any leave that comes in too, I'll be able to approve. I'll be able to either cross-reference with the accounting package their leave balance, or potentially actually pull their leave balance into Kynection so the actual field staff knows how much leave they have in the bank before they raise their leave. And then once that timesheet's here, we've got a nice multi-step approval process where we do our first approval, which might be someone that's in the field or an operations manager. Then we could do a final approval, and then we click one more button, and that will directly push into the payroll system. And once that's payroll's been processed, those actuals of those numbers will populate back through the Kynection against the job, against the project they work on, allowing you to achieve that profit and loss dashboard I showed earlier. So really, really cool functionality on that side of things, on the HR side of things. So managing people, managing assets, doing the resource allocation, managing the jobs, managing your projects, managing your sales, all things within Kynection. The other component, which is quite important, is all around the health and safety aspect. So not only a knowledge base to store all your documentation or your SOPs, your policies, your procedures, that can be all housed in Kynection, as well as completely hyperlinked into your other data repository, like your Google Drive or your SharePoint or your OneDrive. And then we could do all your swims within Kynection. You're able to do all your chemical registers or your JSAs or your toolbox meetings or your near miss and incident reporting can be done in Kynection as well. We do triple ISO management as well. So we're triple ISO certified, and we help you maintain that ISO accreditation of 9001, 45001, and 14001. So having all those checklists and audits can be done in Kynection as well, which is quite useful. These are all just some of the excellent features that you can have in Kynection along with the health and safety aspect. And that will conclude my demonstration today. So I'm sure might be some questions out there, or we do have some frequently asked questions that we can go through. But Lauren, thank you for your time. Thank you for the attendees. And yeah, there's a lot to go through in Kynection, but that was just a little bit of a taste of what we can do.
Amazing. Thanks, Phil. Does anyone have any questions for Phil?
It was a good presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I guess some questions I would say that I've been asked recently is, we are a family business. We are based in Melbourne. Everything that we have is hosted on Microsoft Azure. So all your data is always secured in Australia, in Sydney, servers, as well as a backup server in Melbourne. We have about 250 customers across Australia, New Zealand, and United States now. But yeah, that's just some extra little nuggets of information for anyone out there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. If you've got any questions, feel free to send me through an email and I'll send out the recording. Thanks, Phil.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
everybody.
Thank you. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thank you. Bye.